I'm excited. Are you excited? If you are, click that subscribe button and hang out for a while. I'm John Stark from ActiveMovieGuy.com, and this, ladies and gentlemen, is Jesus Revolution. Or, as I say in Espanol, Revolución de Jesús. Sounds way better in Spanish. Way better. We should just translate things into Spanish more often. Okay, so this is now on Netflix, and someone at Netflix, or in the film, I'm going to say Netflix, because I'm going to hold Netflix accountable for this. There needs to be somebody at Netflix before they put things on Netflix whose job it is to check things off a list. Did we get closed captioning? Check. Did we get audio description? Check. If you don't check that box, then you're not doing your job. Bob. I know it's you, Bob. So, so Bob didn't do his job this time around, and there's no audio description because Bob didn't feel like it was important enough to track the audio description down for a film I'm moderately sure has audio description. There was a major studio logo in front of this, so I'm going to say moderately sure. The director's last film, American Underdog, also had audio description. Last major film, he did some Johnny Cash documentary in the meantime, but I didn't even know there was that, so cool. But I'm going to say American Underdog, which is his last film. It had audio description. So, yeah, and then adding it like weeks later doesn't make up for all the people who watched it when it first dropped. So, Bob, you did not do your job. Bob, you can't be a part of Jesus Revolution. I'm sorry. We have, the tribe has spoken, and you've been removed from the revolution. Please see yourself out. So Bob's been removed. I took care of that. And now we can talk about the film. This film stars Joel Courtney. In case you don't know who that is, do you guys remember a film called Super 8? Remember how that film had kids? That's him. This is one of the kids from Super 8 that grew up. And now he's like older and he's in films still. I was pretty amazed too. I was like, what? Good for him. It's like finding out one of the Stranger Things kids stops acting for a few years and just goes away. You don't know what they're up to, and then suddenly they're like playing somebody's dad. You're like, what? Noah, where'd you come from? Anyway, so he's in this. We got Kelsey Grammer, who was an obvious choice for Christian filmmakers after watching Stars' Boss. I'm sure they all watched that and they were like, yes, this is a guy we need to get. We need to get him into Christian films. He's clearly aligning with our faith. Let's bring him in. And Kimberly Williams Paisley, who did not surprise me that she was in this. I was like, oh, good for her. And I'm going to give somebody a shout out because they're an amazingly talented person. This is absolutely 100% serious. Jackson Robert Scott from Lock and Key is in this. He plays the younger version of Joel Courtney. It's very weird to me that Joel Courtney is now old enough that he now has somebody playing the younger child version of him. And it's Jackson Robert Scott, who did an absolutely fantastic job on Lock and Key. So those are the players, except we also have the guy who plays Jesus in The Chosen is in here, doing pretty much probably the same thing he does in The Chosen, although he's doing it really well. And I know that my tone sounds joking because this is kind of where I'm at, but I want to say this movie's not terrible. It just doesn't have audio description, so I have to be kind of fair going forward. I don't just trash films because they're Christian films if they're made well. Like, I don't like films that aren't made well or aren't films. Like, Kirk Cameron's Saving Christmas is not a film. It's just like a series of ideas. Like, it's not really a film. There's no cohesive plot. Anyway, So, uh, this is very much a film that stars a pastor who is worried about the hippies. Pastor's grammar, Frasier Crane, Dr. Frasier Crane is worried about the hippies, and he's listening though, because Frasier's always listening, and he kind of asks God for like a sign, and in walks into his life via his daughter in a non-creepy way, because this is again a Christian movie, so not a creepy way. Don't let your head go there. In walks this guy, Lonnie Frisbee, and he's about to start a revolution. He's a hippie. He sort of holds on to his past, but he's also had sort of like this like awakening, and he sort of challenges Grammer's thoughts on what it is to be a Christian, and Grammer kind of sees this guy reaching out to people and bringing people in, and they go and they baptize people like in the ocean, but he gets so many people like baptized, and it brings all these new people into the church. And of course the old people in the church, the fuddy-duddy people that, you know, they're old and stuffy, and they're like, you dressed up for church, and this guy's barefoot. And it's like, Jesus was barefoot. Calm down. I never really understood that, but I just think that's so funny. There's a scene where they say something, and like, they're ruining the carpet. And Grammer's character's like, oh, the carpet. I was just like, you know what? He does have great comic timing. I do have to give him, credit for all the years that he's been on sitcoms. He absolutely does have phenomenal timing when he wants it. Here he's trying to give a more serious performance, but you can hear the little sitcom timing that comes out with certain responses of his, like, oh, the carpet. Like, we must be thinking about the carpets. I forgot. And they're not too happy with Frisbee, and they're like, if you keep going down this road, you're gonna lose the only people who pay. He's like, I don't know, and it's just so weird. It's like, it's part of the reason why I don't personally like religion, is it's this kind of shit. And this kind of shit totally exists. And I love the fact that a Christian film is willing to call this out, because there's absolutely this sort of like push and pull of, you're not the right kind of Christian. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're not doing it right. You have to do it my way. You can't just do it. You can't just go read the Bible and do it one way. It's like, did you wear the right clothes today? No? Okay, you need to go home then. Thank you. God doesn't want you here. You know, it's like, what is up with this church? So, yeah, and I like the fact that this film actually kind of explores that and kind of calls out that bullshit. And good for this director, by the way, who's directed a lot of Christian family fare. I don't know why he's not getting Sound of Freedom level praise for this. Like, I don't know why Sound of Freedom has made $150 million, but a film called Jesus Revolution that's actually about converting people to Christianity, it did not. You know, and it's made by a guy who's directed a ton of baity Christian movies, like Mom's Night Out and I Can Only Imagine. American Underdog was very faith-based. So this guy's been putting in the work. It's actually two brothers. I shouldn't say this guy. Two brothers have been putting in the work this whole time. And it shows. Like, they know how to actually make a film. They know how to actually make a film they know how to tell the difference between somebody who's a good actor and a bad actor. They know how to get a performance out of an actor. So the film is good. It does drag a little bit. This film doesn't need to be 2 hours. It's even more noticeable without audio description, because every time we drop away, this film is not like constant dialogue either. It wants to show us things, which I'm sure is spectacular, but I have no idea what those things are. There are moments where we break away, and I'm supposed to be watching something, but I'm blind, and there's no audio description, so I don't know what's going on. So for me, the film dragged even more because I was constantly like, there were less peaks and more valleys for me, because of the lack of audio description. So I was a little bit lost in that regard. But I like the guy playing Lonnie Frisbee. I thought he did a good job. I thought he did I believed he was a hippie, but also at the same time, he kept his role when he wanted to start talking about religion. It didn't feel like, he was like, hey man, what's going on? Let's talk about Jesus, man. It's like, it just kind of felt really natural for him. It didn't feel like it was forced. That's the thing, is that when the film decides to apostatize, it doesn't really get in there, and it doesn't like break away. It doesn't like tear you out of the film. Like Kirk Cameron's Saving Christmas literally tore people out of the film. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're in the middle of this Christmas thing, and Kirk Cameron's like, hey brother, I want to talk to you about something. And we literally cut away to something completely different that doesn't even take place in that realm. He couldn't actually figure out a way how to get that into the film. Here, everything is within the context of the film and these characters, which makes it just such a more rewarding experience. And if you're looking for faith-based entertainment, this is all about that. And if you're a fan of that show, which I know a lot of people are, here's your guy doing, more faith-based work for you. So it's, I'm surprisingly, I wish it had audio description, because at the end of the day, I'm going to give this film a grade, and I think people are going to misunderstand that. And I want to say, I don't think this is inherently a bad film. And to those who would come in, and because I know there are these people, I hear them, and I laugh at Sound of Freedom too. I make fun of the people who are really overselling the Sound of Freedom thing, or saying crazy things about Sound of Freedom to try to get people to watch Sound of Freedom, or using Sound of Freedom as like a weapon. Like, those people are hilarious to me. But there's something that we keep bringing up, and we keep throwing it at Christian movies. I've seen some reviews that brought this up about Jesus Revolution, and I saw some people who brought it up about Sound of Freedom, and they're like, these stories aren't 100% accurate. They change them. They move things around. Yeah, most based on a true story stories do that. You just don't pay attention to the ones that that you agree with. You just don't pay attention to the ones that align with your values, because you're like, oh, that was a heartwarming tale. I can't believe that actually happened. You want me to blow your mind? Do you guys remember the film Fly Away Home? It was a little film. It was an adorable little film. It was based on a true story. It was Jeff Daniels and Anna Paquin, and he was a dad and a daughter or whatever, and they had to devise a way to help these Canadian geese migrate. So they got this little lightweight aircraft, and it got a lot of critical praise back in the day. It's like 1996. It was actually based on a book called Father Goose, about this guy that actually did do this. He actually did create a plane flick, except there was no Anna Paquin. That never happened. They created an entire character because they thought nobody would watch a film about a dude flying geese home. So they were like, what if he had a daughter? What if Anna Paquin was in this film? But yet, no one... You know what I'm saying? Like, we do this all the time in our other films. We create entire characters that never existed in a real story, just so that we can so we can have a better story. So stop holding these other films to some really unattainable, like, bullshit true story thing that we don't hold other films to. I don't see anybody being like, I loved Fight. It was so distracting that Anna Paquin was in it. I know she's not there in real life, and I just couldn't. I know this person personally, and I know his story. I read the book, and every time Anna Paquin was on screen, I was like, "Who is this bitch? She should not be in this film. This film does not exist. Who is she? I don't know." You know, I don't care. I don't really care. They changed some shit. Who cares? You know, sometimes your life isn't cinematic, and you have to change some things to make somebody's life cinematic, or you have a narrative and something isn't relevant to the narrative of the story, so you leave it out. I don't care. Make an interesting film. I don't actually think this is, you know, the hard truth about anybody. So, yeah, I will address that. I'll address that specific thing about these types of films. And I've seen a lot of people do the same thing about Sound of Freedom. I'd love to laugh at that film too, but you know what I'm not going to do in my review? Is I'm not going to go in there and be like, this isn't real. They changed some things. This is a little bit stretched from the truth. There are a lot of films. I mean, I could make a list, a video of films that I know are complete bullshit, that you just have not said anything about as audiences. So, sit down. Jesus Revolution is fine. It's entertaining. It's a little bit long. It mostly develops its story fine. About the time the film tries to work out Lonnie Frisbee out of the film, Joel Courtney's character finally starts to make sense. He really doesn't make sense until he needs to make sense. I kind of spent a lot of the film going, why do I care? Like, why do I care what this kid is doing? Like, I saw Kelsey Grammer as the lead, and then Lonnie Frisbee came in, and I was like, okay, well, I know what this is. What is this other thing? Why do I keep cutting to this Greg? You know? I don't care about Greg. So, it takes a minute, but then Greg makes sense by the end of the film. So, it's like a converging of stories, and I get that. It just didn't all 100% work out for me, on top of the fact that it doesn't have accessibility, which made scenes harder for me to follow. The performances are fine. I really don't have any problems with this film. If I were to actually give this film a grade, it'd probably be, last year I gave Redeeming Love a B-. I'm going to say probably with audio description. I don't know for sure because I don't know what I missed. I would guess a B-, somewhere around in there. I think I gave American Underdog like a B+. So these are kind of around the same area, faith-based movies. But yeah, I think that's probably where the grade I would give. Unfortunately, Bob at Netflix decided I didn't need audio description. He's wrong. This film needs audio description. There were too many scenes, and I couldn't quite follow the narrative. So I just wanted to explain, and I hope people have listened to this entire point, because I don't want 1,000 people blasting me for being some sort of anti-Christian, but it's unwatchable. I'm sorry, my grade is unwatchable. And it's unwatchable because it doesn't have audio description on Netflix. So it doesn't mean I use unwatchable because it's me recognizing that the film is not an F. You know, F and unwatchable are not the same thing to me. If I wanted to give the film an F, I would give the film an F. Kirk Cameron's Saving Christmas is an F. I saw that a long time ago. It's not a film. That's an F. This is better and deserves some sort of a grade that I can't give because I don't actually know what that grade is. So put audio description on it. Thanks. Anyway, hope you enjoyed this review. It's very weird. I just obviously had some things I wanted to say that I had seen from other YouTube critics and just people on social media trying to be like, they changed things. It's not a true story. Yeah, they do that all the time. That's what the based on means. Based on a true story. It's not a documentary. Anyway, hopefully you click subscribe and you'll stay and I didn't offend you and your kind. And I continue to talk about audio description because it's what we need as blind and visually impaired people. I'm just going to keep talking about it over and over until the cows come home. Until we have an audio description revolution in this country. It's so weird that it's a Christian film and it doesn't have audio description. I'm like, but it kind of matches with the theme of the church in this film. They're like, we don't want the barefoot people. Also, if you could leave the blind out, that'd be great. Just leave them. They're weird. Leave them outside. That's kind of what I feel like this film is saying. It's like, no. Did you create audio description? No. Why not? I don't know, because we don't want you. Bye. There's just some of those people in this church that are just making it, trying to make Christianity exclusive. It's very odd. Anyway, I have a website, macmovieguyy.com. You can go to Twitter. I'm going to keep calling it Twitter, by the way. I don't really care what Elon wants to call it. It feels so weird. You go to X and you can follow me. You can go to Instagram, or you can go to Threads and follow me at Mac the Movie Guy. You can go to the audio description project, adp.acb.org. It'll let you know what does have audio description and where you can watch it. Like, this might be on VOD if you're willing to pay for it somewhere with audio description. Just not if you have a Netflix subscription. And also the ADNA.org. That's the ADNA.org. Will let you know who's working on audio description for your favorite films and television series. Anyway, that's it. Let's see how many people are offended who didn't actually listen to the words that I was saying about this film. I was pretty complimentary. The stuff, we don't need a 2-hour tour. We did not need a 2-hour tour. But I'm pleasantly surprised. So I wish I could have given this a grade. So anyway, I will watch something else and see you guys on the other side.